Hello, all. Welcome back to Rogue Trader, of course, game operator and narrator soul. We have finally maybe access to the Forgotten Twins. Chart some new routes, see if we get there. And survey says negative. Oh, man. Don't have anywhere near enough navigator insight. That sucks. That's three. I guess I could wander on down to Palladium Stellos and see what goes on here. The bridge is thrumming with the sounds of endless officer reports, the hum of ancient mechanisms, and the buzz of servo engines. Among the usual servants bustling to and fro, the Lord Captain notices a flash of flame red hair. Oh God. Juliet has come. This is gonna get awkward, ladies and gents. Just as a side note, the last time we had a conversation, I meant to be condescending. Apparently she's into that. You posed a question to me not long ago, Owlcat, and now I'm here to present you with my answer. With fluid grace, Juliet emerges from the shadows of the captain's bridge. Her face seems to glow under the lumen light, her expression slightly more pensive than usual. You have my complete attention. Then listen closely to my answer, Owlcat. You may struggle to comprehend what it is to be said, being accustomed to reveling in your own might and skewing the world to suit you. Pitch your understanding not toward my words, but the sense that lies hidden in the shade of their sounds. Juliet half closed her eyes, her words unfurling slowly and melodically. You try to split the world into pieces, to fragment it, into light and dark, truth and lies, self and other. But I see the world as a single whole, and in this lies its simplicity and complexity. It is not enough simply to see the world and hear its voices. You must understand it. Think of the Lilithian, the world on which our paths crossed. What is it, truly? What is its essence? The Lilithian's magnificence comes not from the green of its vast forests, or from the depths of its water. Its beauty is in the word, and the way it dances on the tongue. And even you, Owlcat, can sense it. Try, say the word, slowly and delicately, casting aside all stray thoughts. Feel. Perhaps then you will see. Alright, we'll try it. The world around you fades and your perception instantly narrows, coming to a single point of focus on the tip of your tongue. Your tongue delicately tickles the roof of your mouth, and the sound slips along your throat with incredible silkiness, warming as it goes like a sip of fresh recap. The tip of your tongue touches the same place again, and air softly rushes up from your chest. The sound like the serration of leaves as the wind leaves through a vast forest canopy. Your tongue taps your front teeth, and a gentle vibration spreads through your body, sending a shiver along your spine. Slaneshi trickery! Guarded interest gleams in Juliet's eyes when you gaze meet again. Well, I think I'm beginning to understand. If your words are sincere, Owlcat, then you are capable of seeing more than you do now. Instead of the lifeless clamor of monstrous mechanisms, the roar of engines, and the discordant voices of your followers, I hear and attend to silence that arises in moments of spiritual serenity, and in that stillness we become witness to the transformations of our own inner world. Monkey lives pass so swiftly. You rush through them for the sake of a chosen goal, but thoughts of transience and loss frighten you, and so you drive such thoughts away and drown yourselves in the daily tumult. But it is from fleeting moments which enter our lives and quickly vanish from them. The soul's fortress grows, a moment's blooming, an hour's wilting. The splendor of each lies in its ephemerality. So too the memories of those who have left her side and no longer walk the path with us. And in you, Owlcat, I see much more than just another Monkey. Your true presence lies in your will, which is capable of changing the world around you and within you. It lies in your ability to create and to understand your creation, and in your ability to destroy. It lies in what your kin's minds cannot grasp, what the primitive sight cannot behold, but I can see it. Thank you for telling me how you see the world. And what do you make of it, Owlcat? How differently do you see the world? In this world of endless war and peril, we'll see only one beacon of hope, and that is the God Emperor. Juliet's breath hitches quietly. The understanding of the world is not all that different from your kin's. Perhaps my conclusions about you were premature. The Eldari turns away, but before she leaves, she looks at you once more. Do not take my words to heart. There is no shame in thinking as others of your kind do. It is much more difficult to follow a different path from the rest. Yes, I'll keep that in mind. Maybe someday. But it is not this day. If only you would just accept us, monkey. Yes. If only. As for the map, back to the map. Let's check out this area of space we just got into. We shall visit. There is an unidentified Imperial void ship here. I'll start with the first planet. What do we got? Last deal of 2. We're already getting 11. I'll hold off on that one for now. Just in case. Smuggler's cache. What do we got? Just a whole bunch of drugs. A whole lot of drugs. This one looks a little bit better. What do we got going on here? Xenotech. Whatever they were talking about by very, very quick. Xenotech, I believe I don't have a whole lot of. I don't. Let's get that extractium there in place and check out this void ship. An unknown ship hails you as soon as you are in its detection range. The ship, the Scarlet Pursuer, helmed by Captain Demir Shani, has Footfall listed as its home port. The message hints transparently at a connection with the Casablanca mission. The Vox Master adds that the captain has a proposal for you. Alright, let's hear what it is. The ship lets you know they will readily reward you for any information about burning worlds in the Coronis Expanse. And why are you looking for those? The reply is as courteous as it is vague. The captain cites a scholarly curiosity, its understudied type of world. Upon hearing the message, Magos Pascal expresses a keen interest in burning worlds and asks the Lord Captain to take the issue into consideration. Jay immediately declares that Captain Shani would never dash about the void out of scholarly curiosity, but only for a suitably high return. In that case, perhaps Lord Captain too might want to look into these burning worlds. The Seneschal makes no comment regarding the Casablanca message, but is amazed that, for once, the esteemed Magos and Mistress J are in passionate agreement on something. Alright, well, let's share some information. We received Soul traps, so trading cargo, and 500 reputation with the Caspelica mission. We'll let them know we'll be willing to sell them more. And that's about it. Before we hop the system, let's go ahead and drop that extractor here. We do still have 7, 6. It's gonna be 5. I think that's still enough. Before we have to go back and maybe up our trade goals. Let me chart a new route from here. No. And this is still going to require 3 to jump. My goodness. That is wildly unfortunate. We were hitting like 8s and 7s and we're rolling low on this. This is pretty unfortunate. Well, off a move. Lord Captain, urgent Vox transmission from the Sector Bionica. Hail, rogue trader. Neogan's sonorous voice fills the channel. As you know, there are no unsolvable dilemmas, only poorly formulated questions. You strike me as someone who knows how to ask the right questions, and so I'd like to invite you to participate in my scientific research. Will you honor me with your presence in the sector? I am intrigued. I shall proceed to you directly, Genitor. Blessed are those who heed the call of the Omnissiah. I look forward to our conversation, rogue trader. And what, pray tell, will this be? What are we doing? What are we doing? On the operating table, several bodies are laid out, the mutilations exposed to the chill air. Their chest and abdominal cavities yawn wide, excavated of their augmented organs, which now nestle in flasks, still connected to the bodies by tubes and cables. Judging by the rhythmic contractions, the organs are still functioning. Neogan hovers beside the tables, assiduously taking measurements and jabbing mechadendrites into the extracted organs or inside the bodies. Nuncius keeps stoic vigil nearby, an impassive observer of this grotesque spectacle. What is... Yogan, what matter of experiments do you plan to conduct on these men? The Manipulus's massive bulk spins around to face you, his eyes dancing with excitement. Rogue trader, your arrival has triggered a cascade of impulses in the prefrontal cortex of my brain. Delight. That's the word I was searching for. Cast off your worries. The subjects of the experiment have been preserved through a combination of alchemic compounds, local transactions of the motive force, and moderately invasive augmentation procedures. In other words, all 3 are very much alive. Throughout the speech, Yogan's mechadendrites continue their manipulation of the bodies. Crux. All 3 organisms were found in critical condition. I asked myself, is their usefulness and productive capacity truly at an end? Nonsense. To move from a state of being to a state of non-being entails no benefits or meaning. I personally ensured that their vital functions were preserved. Our goal could not be simpler. To vanquish death by creating the perfect, righteous man. That which I have dubbed the Trizomata. Okay. Easy there, Fabius Bile. Needless to say, the procedure is highly experimental and demands a certain looseness of interpretation in regard to augmentation cannons, as well as integration of components that would incur the Imperium's disapproval. But the Omnissiah teaches us to surmount any obstacle in the name of knowledge, especially when pursuing a goal of such magnitude. So Triosomata, what is that? The triune essence, the amalgam of the best constituent parts of 3 individuals who have excelled themselves in service. Metaphysically, it consists of 3 beings, mortal flesh, param sanctum, and righteousness. By creating the perfect combination, we will achieve a totality that is vastly superior to its components in its qualities and usefulness to the Imperium. And what is the practical significance of your experiment? In their current state, each of the subjects is doomed. But just as the parts of dying mechanisms can be combined again to create a functioning machine, so too can these subjects be combined into a single entity, granting them continued life through the correct configuration of the Ferrum Sanctum and organic components of all three. The only thing I require to continue the experimentation is the solution to my dilemma. Which subject should serve as the basis? Ilgan turns his burning gaze to you. Organisms? These are not things, Ilgan. You're talking about people. Ah, I see we found a lacuna in your knowledge of scientific syntax. An organism is... Ilgan breaks off and casts a confused look at Nuncius. Apologies, rogue trader. I am not well versed in contact with laypersons. Nuncius far surpasses me in every way when it comes to communication. I recognize that these individuals have minds, desires, and needs. I have not attempted to interfere with their personalities. On the contrary, I wholly admire each for their own traits. I use the term organism with nothing but the deepest respect for these men and their vital functions. How did you decide to create a triosomata out of these three? There are strong augments in favor of each of them. The janitor raises a clawed mechanandroid and begins flexing its manipulators in time with his words. Firstly, they have all performed their service impeccably, which suggests outstanding human qualities. Second, each body is robust enough to receive the blessing of the Omnissiah. And thirdly, there is no other chance of salvation for any of them. And why are all three subjects so horribly mutilated? Two reasons. The first is that they were previously fatally injured. I have performed numerous rites and manipulations to ensure that each was able to avoid a fatal outcome. The second is that I have been conducting the necessary measurements to fully assess the compatibility of the configurations of Ferrum Sanctum and organic components for optimal experimental results. This often requires the extraction of said components. Why is this experiment so important to you? An angry spark zips along the pistons in the Manipulus's beard. He floats higher, turning his glowering gaze on the sector's ceiling. Because I cannot abide the senseless waste of potential. I cannot accept that a foolish accident, the fragility of organic flesh can, in an instant, deprive the Imperium of worthy servants. And if I am able to extend their service life, I will do so, whatever the cost. Ilgan's passionate speech could be mistaken for pride and conceit. Something else lies behind it, a doggedness born of some deeply personal experience. This man carries a heavy burden, and the experiment is but one of his many attempts to relieve himself of it at last. Drifting lower once more, Ilgan calmly asks, "Any more questions plaguing you, rogue trader?" We're going to take a closer look at the bodies. Three men of differing ages lie before you, young, middle-aged, and old. If you look closely, you can see that they still have semblance of life about them. Each one has had the top of his skull delicately removed, and electrodes are now attached to the bluish-hued brain tissue, latticed with blood vessels. Below the neck is one continuous gaping wound, the edges spread and held in place by a complex system of clamps. The young man, the pathologically emaciated build and spindly, almost transparent limbs indicate that this is a voidborn. A glance into the open ridge cage reveals signs of damage. The sucker on the heart is torn, and the vessels have been reinforced with metal staples. The poor youth's heart is half augment. Both ventricles have been replaced by pumps, which are connected to opaque tubes that run into the Medicaid device's reservoir. The young man's neck is tattooed with his Bay code and a job title. It seems he is a common worker from the lower decks. And the middle-aged man, With his well-developed musculature and strong bones, this man presents a stark contrast to the others. His left arm is missing, along with a part of his shoulder. Shreds of major vessels protrude from the neatly trimmed stump. They have been closed off with bizarre-looking end caps that are wired to a metal arm lying nearby. The Enforcer's emblem is tattooed on the man's neck, topped with a Von Valancius coat of arms. Let's have a look at the old man. The old man's eyelids are closed and his face is serene. He might appear to be sleeping peacefully, were it not for the deathly pallor of his face and his monstrously mangled neck. He had been fitted with a voice implant at some point previously, but it had recently been wrenched from the unfortunate man's body. Every so often, the metal hose now serving as his trachea emits a reedy whistling sound. He is clutching something tightly in his right hand. It is an ornate set of prayer beads, the kind used by ordinary servants of the ecclesiarchy. Absorbed in his work, Myogen pauses for a moment, listening to Nuncius, then glances at the cogitators and shakes his head. No, dearest colleague, that would be excessive. I would like to save them if we can, but I'm not exactly too happy about this whole setup. Very well, I will help you. But what role am I to play in this experiment? A decisive one. I can detail the composition of the humor ratio of each experimental subject, measure the mass of the frontal lobe, or answer with picosecond accuracy how often their heart contracts. But how does one calculate a man's righteousness? How do you weigh diligence of service? You will help me answer these questions by choosing the basis of the triosomata. Your assessment will be the linchpin upon which this experiment hinges. Why not ask Nuncius for advice? My dearest colleague and I have had more than one consultum, but we have never reached a consensus. Nuncius is a skeptic, and our positions rarely align, but we tend to reach a compromise in the end. But, alas, not on this occasion. The only thing we agree on is the need for a third opinion. Only you can furnish us with said opinion. This is an incontrovertible fact. And what is it that Nuncius disagrees with? The servo skull hovers in haughty silence, which is broken only by Myogen's sighs of exasperation. Pressing his lips together, the manipulus grunts out. To condense his overly pedantic response, Nuncius does not consider righteousness to be in any way a significant factor in this research. Had I any less respect for my dearest colleague, I would say that this constitutes an egregious misunderstanding of the concept of the triosomata, and is indicative of the extreme closed-mindedness. But such remarks are beneath me. And what do you understand by the term righteousness? The combination of countless factors that unite the thoughts and deeds of a person into the quintessence of the worth of his being within his specific society. I am at a loss to provide a less broad definition, but no matter. Much more important is how you define righteousness. The subject you choose will determine the answer to that question. And why not just combine all three minds to serve as the basis? Three minds cannot coexist in one body. Setting aside the fact that even I would not be capable of achieving such a feat in practice, in theory, it would certainly lead to the complete deconstruction of all three minds. Some less flexible thinkers might even consider it heresy. You sense some agreement in Nuncius's silence. As my dearest colleague rightly notes, we have encountered many such points of contentions over the years. Before I make my choice, tell me about the merits of all three. A mechadendrite touches the cable with the middle-aged man. Enforcer Lornik. He has diligently served on the ship since birth. A participant in countless combat landings, where he was a model of valor and steadfastness. He was known on the lower decks for being tough, but fair. His last act of heroism was a rescue of an enforcer patrol and a number of workers on deck 515-E-2. Lorink placed his own body over a crack grenade thrown from the crowd by a mutineer. Next is the old man. Preacher Cleophanes. Originally assigned to serve in the ship's reliquary, he rejected the luxury of the chapel in favor of an eternal pilgrimage on the decks where no servant of the ecclesiarchy had ever set foot. Through his example and word, he encouraged and instructed the outcast and forgotten. Thousands of souls who would otherwise have lost their faith and fallen into heresy came to know the word of the Emperor. But it only took one to end Cleophane's preaching for good. A madman attacked him during a sermon, managing to rip out the preacher's vocal implant before the crowd tore him apart. Finally, Yogan touches the Voidborn youth. Mikosh, a ventilation shaft crawler from sorting hub 10. He dutifully burned mold, slime, and vermin, and would be the first to climb into blocked ducts, risking his life to deliver recycled air into the sector. He was a true believer, and never lamented his lot. On his final foray, he saved hundreds of workers by using his body to plug a hole in a combustible gas pipe. The toxicity led to cardiac arrest and blood poisoning. Okay. Yeah, you gotta make this a little bit difficult, eh? I'm ready to make a decision. Ewan raises his mechadendrites in anticipation. Who will form the basis of the trio somata? So, all three very dutiful in their job. The enforcer, downright hero, taking the grenade blast and saving everybody in the vicinity. The Voidborn, literally saving an entire sector by using his body to block a hole. And then the priest. Well, the priest was keeping everybody in line. So I guess at the end of the day, the question comes down to what exactly we're going to do. We are going, I would like to help the enforcer, but I'm torn between the enforcer and the worker. We will save the worker. Yogan contemplates the half-dead man lying stretched out on the galvanized surface. The choice has been made, but will you deign to answer my question? Why him? I must know your thought process. He could have saved himself, but he chose to sacrifice himself for the sector. Selflessness is the highest expression of righteousness. Yogan closes his organic eye, deep in thought. Finally, his face breaks into a smile. Thank you, Solstrom. This is it, the solution to our dilemma. I will begin the triosomata procedure. May organic flesh and sacred machinery be one. Alright, 2.5 hours pass. With a barely audible crunch, Yogan's injector mechadendrite pierces the brain tissue. The man's face contorts in anguish, and his back arches in a fit of spasms. His brows furrowing, the genitor delivers a powerful pulse of the motive force, and the unfortunate man drops limply back onto the table. The tech priest manipulators dart between the three bodies, separating organs, augmetics, and limbs, and transplanting them to the new host. Discharges of energy coruscate around Yogan's hulking figure, glowing brighter and brighter until the final flash leaves you temporarily blinded. When your vision returns, you see the manipulus carefully releasing the subject's limbs from their restraints. The process is complete. Uh-oh. That's probably not good. The creature, which a second ago resembled a humanoid lump of bloody meat studded with metal, suddenly leaps up with unexpected vigor, tossing Yogan backwards and letting out an unintelligible howl of suffering. Before anyone can react, the amalgam man barrels toward the entrance of the Sector Bionica, filling the deserted corridors with his plaintive moans. Yogan stares after him in amazement. Impossible. The calculations were perfectly calibrated. All factors taken into consideration. Was the specimen defective? I must find the Triosomata immediately and determine what went wrong. Your calm bead crackles to life, carrying the Vox Master's anxious voice. Lord Captain, an urgent report from Mistress Sourback. A strange creature resembling a malfunctioning servitor is headed toward the lower decks, shouting pleas that make reference to you and the Genitor Februs. Enforcers have been dispatched to intercept it, but they assume that you would prefer to assess the situation personally. At least we know exactly where to look for your creation, Eogan. Vox Master, we are on our way. One way or another, we must see the experiment through to the end. And we're off to deal with Frankenstein's monster. Oh, good. Poor life choices abound. Hey, buddy. What do we got going on over here? Nothing very important. Bloody footprints stretch further down the hallway. Maybe we get lucky. Oh, maybe we won't. Nope. Maybe we won't.
By the blood of martyrs.
That's a body. Someone seized him with great force and threw him against the wall. Easy now, lads. We're just gonna sit here and stare at him? I guess so. Okay. The Triosomata lies prostrate before the entrance to the bay, the faint Aquila on the door, the only witness to his incoherent babbling. His hysterical wails of the righteous triune man are interrupted from time to time by the clang of his augmented skull against the deck. A viscous mixture of blood and oil oozes from the staples on his forehead, and his fingernails are chipped from his attempts to dig the implants out of his body. The young man stutters out prayers, interspersed with fearful lamentations to an unseen interlocutor. Lameness shows a weakness of spirit. God, Emperor, let me get up and work. A spasm racks his body, and his already muddled speech turns into a frightening cacophony that barely sounds like language. Suddenly, the Triosomata pounds his head on the deck again and spews forth another medley of ragged sentences. Do I have a choice? Hunger is pawing at my door. I will work my shift and die before I betray the dynasty. The spasm repeats. Eogan clucks his tongue in displeasure, worrying at a piston on his beard as he thinks. The subject left the Sector Bionica prematurely. Nuncius is right. I was so absorbed in the Triosomata procedure and its successful outcome that I made the mistake of unfastening the restraints before the psychological evaluation could be conducted. Rogue trader, we must stabilize the Triosomata before the specimen is lost forever to us. And how do we stabilize him? Just as a bandage binds a wound and a patch secures damaged steel, so can words heal a fractured mind. He is bewildered and frightened. He does not understand the gift that has been given to him. Talk to him. Nuncius, present me. The servo skull hovers haughtily without uttering a word. It is clear he thinks you need no introduction. Abelard, scowling jealously at Nuncius, mutters, "Allow me, Lord Captain. Triosomata, before you stands the rogue trader von Solstrom von Valancius, Lord Captain of this vessel and sovereign of its crew. Solely by his grace do you still live. One wrong word, one wrong movement, and I will personally call the enforcers down upon you." The mumbling and head-thumping stop. The man shifts his clouded gaze to you, and you see recognition in his eyes. Lord Captain? I'm no layabout. I'll work my shift. That's no excuse for idleness, but my heart. Give it back, I beg you. The young man digs his broken nails into his chest augment and makes a pitiful attempt to rip it out. He breaks down weeping, swaying from side to side. I have a couple options. I do have this iconoclast one. Nikosh, can a person who sacrificed himself for others be without a heart? You may beat differently, but it does still beat. I believe in you, and everyone who you saved believes in you too. Do you? He claps his trembling hands over his chest and smiles. I can feel it struggling. The Lord Captain believes? Sorting Hub 10. I won't bring shame. I will work my shift. I won't betray the dynasty. The trio Somata stops. The poor man's shoulders slowly slump and the convulsions steadily subside. His lucidity does not last long. Amalgam's eyes soon go blank, and his mouth stretches into a blissful smile. Rocking peacefully and drooling, he murmurs broken snippets from his former life and prayers to the Emperor. Absurd. Unacceptable. Yogan scans the trio Somata, furiously pounding the keys of his micro-cogitator mounted upon his torso. You have succeeded in pacifying him, but the trio Somata is rejecting the attempts of the implant's machine spirits to contain the cognitive entropy. Total personality degradation is inevitable. I must reassemble him. This is enough, Yogan. Leave this blissful fool be, and let the Medicae of the Sector Bionica tend to him until the end. The trio Somata obediently allows himself to be led away. The man keeps his eyes fixed on the Aquila, murmuring prayers until he is lost to your sight. The tech priest looks gloomier than a cloud. Rogue Trader, I am experiencing a cognitive block, and have analyzed every possible failure hypothesis and double-checked every step I made. And I have failed to identify a single mistake. The organic parts of the Ferrum Sanctum joined together perfectly. The brain was perfectly preserved. These complications should never have occurred, and yet the outcome cannot be denied. My calculations are perfectly correct. That is an incontrovertible fact. So is the flaw in the conditions or in the subject themselves? People are not machines. You tried to break people down into mechanical components. Your original hypothesis was flawed. The Manipulus's galvanic cells crackles nervously. My hypothesis is flawed? But how? It's inconceivable. Or have I strayed and committed heresy by believing that I comprehended the nature of the machine god? By thinking that we are simpler creatures than him? Rogue Trader, I thank you for the contribution to our research. Nuncius and I can now call you colleague in all earnestness. I need to rethink, and discuss the new data with Nuncius. Please, find me on the bridge later. We must discuss the results of the experiment. Well, I mean, as long as everyone's all good. I was going to say, is that a heart implant? Ooh. And as for everything else, like, I can't get through the door, which kind of sucks.
Glory.
Interesting little take. But I think that's pretty much it for this sector. Let's see what Yogan has to say on the bridge. And where are you, good sir? Right on this way.
Rogue Trader, your timing is impeccable. I am ready to discuss the fascinating experiment we have been conducting in the Sector Bionica and on other decks.
You wanted to discuss the results of the so-called Triosomata experiment?
Indeed. After processing all the data, including your invaluable contribution to the outcome of the experiment, my dear colleague and I engaged in a lengthy debate. My cognitive block has been resolved at last. I have come to the conclusion that the only correct decision in the context of this experiment was not to conduct it in the first place. My methods were correct and my intentions good, but I clung to my hypothesis to the last, in blind defiance of Nuncius's arguments and objective reality. I was attempting to wring usefulness out of people like charge from a dying battery. But regardless of how well and long a battery served before, when it is finally depleted, isn't the more rational response to dispose of it and replace it with a new one? Righteousness is a trait of these people, but it is not their primary function. I see that now.
And what's of the Triosomata?
As you instructed, he is being tended to in the Sector Bionica. His cognitive functions have almost entirely failed, and only the Omnissiah's mercy keeps him from losing all mobility. The Triosomata spends his days bowed in prayer, or so we presume, since he has lost all verbal capacity. He appears to be at peace.
Does Nuncius agree with you?
We have managed to reach a consensus on the root of the problem. The rest can be overlooked. He is not convinced by all my conclusions, but that is no terrible thing. He and I share a common path, but we each have our own methods of comprehending it.
You have learned something valuable, which means this experiment was not in vain.
Precisely. A man chooses what he is made of. Regrets for his past mistakes, or the experience he gained from them. Only those who choose the latter course can attain true wisdom. I wish to thank you. You helped me cope with a situation that was beyond my control, and to recognize my mistakes. And that is worth a great deal. I was considering using this implant in an experiment, but I thought it too valuable to waste on the laity. Please, accept it as a gift.
And what do we get? Using combat stimulants does not inflict negative effects. Whenever the user grants an ally an extra turn, any stimulants used by that ally during this turn do not inflict negative effects. That would be something for the officers. Interesting. Isn't Nuncius jealous of your new cyber companion?
A preposterous notion. My cybernetic companion is merely an auxiliary tool. It is far less sophisticated than Nuncius, and lacks his outstanding communication skills and sharp intellect.
Yeah, that's fair. Truly, you detect not a whit of jealousy in the Servo Skull's gaze. You mentioned that you have knowledge of Xenos.
The rank of Janitor grants me the right to study their foul anatomy and behavior for the purposes of identifying their weaknesses. I have personally dissected more than one specimen, and have even preserved specific body parts for further investigation. I research and study their technology to the same end. There is no shame in using our enemies' weapons against them, no matter what some narrow-minded colleagues may say.
And what kind of Xenos do you study?
The mythical kind, shall we say. The subject of my research is an ancient, unusually advanced xeno-civilization. Some among the tech clergy call them Nephilimix, believing them to be the first creations of the Omnissiah. Others call them iron anathemas, considering them to be the spawn of abominable intelligence. But the initiated know them as Necrons. And believe me, the hand of the machine god has never touched these monstrous creatures.
Well, now I'm a little bit worried.
After more than 1 decade of searching, I have amassed a modest collection of objects that belonged to these Necrons. But I have never succeeded in understanding the purpose of most of them. Many believe that Necrons died out long ago, leaving behind only ruins of black rock. But I do not believe so. They exist still, and they are closer than they seem.
You have heard from drunken voidfarers dread tales and speculation about metal creatures that do not know death. None of these stories ever sounded plausible, let alone convincing. Why do you believe they are alive?
I have encountered inconsistencies in my research. Ghost colonies with fresh tracks that match the descriptions of these Xenos from various sources. Adeptus Mechanicus expeditions that plunged into obsidian ruins, never to return. Gaps in the knowledge repositories of individual worlds, as if someone had been trying to hide information. In isolation, all these are unexplained coincidences. But if I analyze the cumulative frequency of the events and the systems in which they occurred, and compare them to the few things I do know, I can detect certain patterns. The ancient Xenos are exhibiting activity.
Ooh. Well, we failed that awareness test. This sounds like baseless speculation at best, and dreams passed off as reality at worst. What objects do you have in your collection?
That's the beauty of it. I don't know. Allow me to specify. It includes objects of mostly regular forms, cubes, spheres, cylinders, made of unknown black stone or metal. Many are covered in glyphs or patterns that cannot be deciphered. Fascinating trinkets that I have spent years studying, but have never progressed beyond flimsy theories that cannot be confirmed experimentally. Perhaps my approach is fundamentally flawed, or the objects are non-functional, or perhaps they simply do not want anyone to root out their secrets. It's a mystery, a stimulating mystery.
Yeah, that's a little bit worrying.
I look forward to seeing what new topic of discussion you propose.
Yeah, we're gonna take our leave.
I find our conversation stimulating, and I will look forward to your next visit.
That worries me greatly that Necrons are out and about. Yikes. Alright, back to the Coronis Expanse. Let's see if we can actually get back to where we want to go. If it's even possible. Your lordship, Master Hermione, succeeded in his escape and has arrived on board. He has almost completed the ritual of harmonization with the rest of the choir, which has given our voices greater strength and cohesion. We have made our preparations and are awaiting your arrival to start the ritual as soon as you give the order. Well, shoot. Looks like we're gonna get right into that one, aren't we? Let's go see what the choir is doing. Ooh, actually, just looking at the time here, I don't think we're going to have the time to go ahead and kick this off. So I will put a cut in here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out today's episode. If you enjoyed it, by all means, please don't forget to do all the YouTube things. And next one, I'm going to be kicking off the choir to find out exactly who thought it was a really good idea to put mutant blood in my bath. Ah, yes. First world problems. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Take care, all.